discuss the most pretentious matters of the mind.
See? It does it every time!
I wish I wasn't talking over that. I really like that little, 4-bar phrase.
It sounds great. I like the talking.
It sounds great. Okay.
Talkity talk.
So I've been reading some Milton Friedman lately, who's an economist, Chicago School.
Is that Lex Friedman's cousin or something?
No, actually, I don't think it related at all, actually. But so Milton Friedman was a Chicago School economist from the University of Chicago, along with Thomas Sowell and that whole bunch of folks. So libertarian adjacent, kind of in that realm. I don't know if they would actually call themselves libertarian. I think they tend to be called the Chicago School, but related to libertarian. So they're not full anarchists. So what I've been...
How do they live in Chicago? Chicago is like the home of social authoritarianism right now.
Sure. But the University of Chicago actually used to be a much more traditionalist organization. And actually still is. So the economics department at the University of Chicago still has the remnants of this history.
Did you hear about the little youth rights they had? So they put in curfew?
I did.
Yeah. So anyways, let's continue though.
All right. So
what does Milton have to say?
Friedman, it's interesting because I consider myself an anarchist, but I always struggle with this. What do you do about the fact that there are governments? What should a government be doing if there is to be a government? So
Maybe the government should be the anti-government board.
Yeah.
Have you considered that?
Yeah.
No, that's too much government.
Yep.
So that's the enforcers?
Right. So Milton Friedman says the government has only four responsibilities.
Okay.
So curious what we all think about this. The first is, we got a viewer and we lost him.
The old hook didn't work.
They don't like Milton Friedman. Anyway, that's fine. I love it. He's so charming. He reminds me of my composition professor in undergrad. It's very similar mannerisms. It's great. Anyway, so the four functions of government. The first is to protect the citizens from outside forces, like invading forces, things like that.
Uh-huh.
The second, to protect citizens from each other.
Okay. That'd be like police.
Right. So to protect people from aggressing against each other, having some kind of system of justice in terms of redress of grievances. If somebody has stolen something from you, you're not going to kill them, but they have to pay you back or give it back to you or something like that.
I see.
So that's a complicated idea, but it's about a system of justice, which is important from this perspective. The third, which is very complicated, is to provide services that no individual would have an interest in providing, but are for a public good.
Oh, so like jury duty?
Maybe. I don't know. So
I'm trying to think of what that would be.
So some examples that people like to use are roads. So roads are so expensive that no individual would have an incentive to create roads on a large scale, but they serve a public good. I don't know that roads is the right example. I'm just saying it's an example that's often used. Or something like an army. No individual would have an interest in creating a national army.
I think there's plenty of individuals. We call them dictators.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. It does. This is why this is a hard one. Is it's very hard to know because the problem is
But doesn't Millie give any examples of this concept? Like what did Millie say were the functions of government that need to be done because no individual would seek to do them?
He didn't give any. He said that this is the most troublesome one because this argument can be used for anything and is used for anything.
Okay.
Because everything the government does, the government argues is in the public good. So if the president wants to go to war with a country, the argument is that's for the public good. That's not the president's interest that's not some guy's interest in going to war with a country. And so it's a very difficult principle. So these principles come from Adam Smith. It's a difficult principle to figure out what to do with.
Sure.
I understand the rationale, but I think that the application is very tough.
Yeah.
And then the fourth function is to take care of those who are not fully creative and like self-determining people, i.e. children and disabled people.
Well, I mean, there's some children that are self-determined. That's where this whole like legal age thing is kind of a misnomer to me.
Right. But so a 3-year-old.
I mean, there's some pretty smart 3-year-olds. Have you seen those children virtuosos?
Yeah.
I put them on a street corner. They're going to make money and tips.
Anyway, the idea is so. But then what he says is that with children especially, but also with disabled people, families are the most important system, and so there's these tiered paternalisms. So there are people who will kill their children, and so you do need a state to step in and have some kind of paternalism that's like you're not allowed to.
Because the state should kill the children.
Exactly. Right. No. So the idea is that as children are not creative and fully like independent people, paternalism is required to some degree.
Okay.
The best place for that to come from is from parents, a family unit.
Mm.
However, there do have to be minimum standards of like you're not allowed to starve your children to death. Because that would be aggressing upon an embryo of a fully actualized person. So he calls children like embryos of full people.
Okay,
with full rights.
sure.
So they have some basic rights, as all humans have, but they don't have the full set of rights yet.
So the problem with that, though, then is it's leaving up to the government then to decide what is acceptable or not acceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the whole problem. But
and that definition right now is currently changing our society.
Yes. So this is a problem, but all of this
is creating handicaps in some ways.
Yes, I agree. All of this is a preface to this statement, which I've been, not this one. I don't even have it up. The statement that I've been wrestling with.
Okay.
So Milton Friedman is like an extremist individualist. I would call myself an extremist individualist. But he does make this, so at the end of this whole section, talking about the functions, the four necessary functions of government. He says this: for children, we assign responsibility in the first instance to the parents. That's the first paternalistic provider to children must be the parents, because the parents will have the greatest interest in caring for that child properly. The state will not. Okay, so the first instance to the parents. The family, rather than the individual, has always been and remains today the basic building block of our society. Though its hold has clearly been weakening, one of the most unfortunate consequences of the growth of government paternalism. But what's interesting is he has this little aside here to actually put up the family as the basic building block of society rather than the individual. Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. So what do you think?
I think the family is, though, because like I want to say like should I interject here? Is this a good time to interject?
Please do.
I feel like, like you've seen my garden.
Yeah.
If my garden, all it had was one plant, then there is nothing but space for other plant forms to come and choke out that one plant. Right. Whereas if there's competing plant forms, life forms in an area, they don't all benefit each other, but they all buffer each other. Right. And that variety also brings a variety of wildlife with it, which also helps buffer against certain pests. Right. And if pests come, then it's more, it brings a balance, right? So the strongest thing for the individual is to have contrary and complementary relationships.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. Because like an individual that's completely individual, like I think it's hard to have perspective. It's hard to have a grounding, an awareness of surrounding and other circumstances of other other people, right? If dude, the family's what matters a tremendous amount.
It's crazy. I mean,
but I think people get hung up on the idea of family, though, right? Like you can have your biological family and you can have your friend family. Right, like
you need units of people that are aligned together. And,
yeah.
But that's the thing, and we've talked about this about how, like, if you and I go out to a bar, and even if you or I transgress against somebody, we need to have each other's backs for the most part, first and foremost. Like that's
No,
that's like quote like the bro code or something like that, right? Or like or with your wife. Like even if your wife has done something wrong, you're their advocate, you're their attorney no matter what.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs that.
So like if my partner does something that I don't care for, right? It's not my habit to make public example of that and be like, oh, you're on your own now. No, it's more like you support them, and then you get home and be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Right? Or is the same thing happens to me, right? Like you shouldn't have acted that way.
Yep.
Right. But then it's breaking protocol in my mind to not show that solidarity, which I guess is a little bit of posturing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that has negative aspects to it.
Right.
It probably does a bit. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't posture.
But it's crazy. Like this family line landed so hard on me because I always think of the individual, and I do see a family like what you're saying. The family as an idea is a fiction, in the same way that a company is a fiction or a band is a fiction. I'm me, you're you. Sap Claw Elixir isn't real, but it is an important narrative, and so the family is an important narrative. But seeing it as actually a more important narrative than the individual, which is a real thing. Like an individual is a narrative, but the individual is something real. It's a consciousness.
I think it's the relation, but it's the relation of individuals.
Right.
Like I want to think that a healthy family is a healthy collection of separate individuals with the common motivation, the common desire to have relationships with each other.
Yep.
That's all it is. Right? Because we have our biological family, but I have friends that I consider my family.
Right.
Right. And basically I don't really have friends that I don't consider my family, if that makes sense. Right.
Right. You have people you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I have acquaintances.
Yep.
I have people that I've worked with. I have people that I would hang out with.
Yeah.
But I may not necessarily consider them my friends, because that's reserved for the people like, no, I hang with these people.
Yep.
Right. That's different than like sharing a meal, or
it's your gang,
beer after a game.
So when we finally start playing Lick It Up and we make a video, you have to have your gang of guys go and meet the gang of women stepping on skulls and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought it was an interesting idea that really like landed hard for me.
Yeah, because you like to think of it just as the individual, but see, that's also, I think that's where, like, we want to if there's not the individual, then what is it? Then it's all just a group.
Yep.
So the individual is critical. Like, I don't think any societal without some sense of individualism is
because then nobody has any desire to do anything. Because desire is an individual that comes from you.
But I feel that I don't think it's a societal difference to say, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I feel like having sex. Oh, I'm thirsty. Like those ideas are not limited to a singular group. That's not
what I'm saying is that desire isn't group based, no matter what people say. Like,
but other desires could be like if someone maybe I'm making the wrong point here, but if someone says I'm going to join a collectivist commune, right, where we have a minimal lifestyle, we share the same like tunics, right? Everyone has the same clothing, right? Like you could argue that they don't have desire, but I would say no, their desire is to not have those things, right?
Right, but so each of those people have those desires. So there's a shared desire, but I don't think that desire can stem from a group, because I think a group is a fiction.
So then would group desire just be shared desires among different people? Then
it could be shared desires. It could be acquiescing to somebody's desire. So there could be a king or a matriarch or a patriarch who has a thing. And so then everybody else goes, okay, well, that's what they want, so that's what we'll do. Because I want what they want.
Yeah.
But then you're actually limiting your individuality. You're taking it, you're placing the responsibility of your desire on somebody else. You're offloading it.
Right. Well, those are the people that the government needs to help make decisions for.
Right. Yes.
People
They
without
must. They must.
Dude.
But that's all of
they
us
should-
now.
yeah.
Anyway.
Dude. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, I think we
Dude,
did it. I think we did it.
Individual versus the group.
It's
Who
interesting.
knows?